Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ginger Broderick, and I'm the host of the Ginger New York TV show. Welcome to M&N TV Studios here in New York City. We're taping at our new location on West 38th Street. Today, I have two guests in the music industry. One is David Gelman. He's a singer-songwriter, releasing his fourth album. And we have Tim Hatfield, who is his producer and songwriter for the album as well. So, David, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Welcome back to the show.
Yeah,
You've been here once before. Thank you for bringing in Tim and Klein's husband. So thank you.
That's what I call him, Klein's husband.
I go to 30th Street Guitars. They say, "Oh, it's Mr. Ann Klein."
You were here once before with a band called White Collar Crime.
That is correct.
Yeah,
yes,
that was great. That was probably one of the last live shows that I did. It was my birthday party that day. We had a photographer. It was a big woo-woo.
That was a great day, yeah. I
was
remember the date.
What day was it?
February 28th, 2020.
Look at that.
Because, yeah, that was a leap year, and I remember it was the day before the leap year.
Well, thank you for helping me remember. So it's almost a 4-year anniversary.
Yeah. So,
wow. See, I didn't remember the date, so thanks for helping. We're 2 days off of that 4-year anniversary.
Wow, that's amazing.
And we're just kind of relaunching, you know, from that show because the building got sold, we relocated, we had COVID, and now we're on the upswing. So thanks for coming and being my guest today and bringing in your
having us. Yeah.
Your friend, yeah. So you two have been friends for a very, very long time, I understand. We were talking before the show how you all met way back in the early, what is it?
2010-ish?
No, it was before that.
Oh, wait, White Collar Crime. Like maybe early 2000s?
Yeah, it was the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Because I remember, I remember the night, 2 nights before 9/11. I guess 9/09, because I was with Matt that night. I remember, so, you know, it's Steve Terry's birthday party or something.
Wow.
Just
I
so
remember, so it must have been before 2010.
Just so you know, so how Tim and I met was I was in White Collar Crime, and we were doing recording. I did not know Tim, and we did a few albums with White Collar Crime at his studio. And that's how I met Tim.
Oh, okay.
So,
is this the studio that was downtown?
It's in...
No, that was the rehearsal space you were
Yeah, the rehearsal space, their rehearsal space was downtown, and that's where we met originally. But my studio is in Williamsburg. At the time, it's now in Greenpoint.
Oh, okay.
I have a studio called Cowboy Technical Services.
Very good.
So, that's where we did the last record, or most of it.
Yeah.
And we recorded upstate, or this one we did in, we did this one in Red Hook, right?
yeah, in
Yeah.
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And this is your fourth album,
Correct.
right? So you started your first one, I understand, like in 2011. Your first 3 were in 2011 to 2019?
Yeah, the first 3. And,
Oh.
so what happened in the band, you know, Tim was great professional, and we had great experience recording with White Collar Crime.
Okay.
So as I was finding my own voice with my own music, I still was in the band, but I started to develop my own music. So since I knew Tim, so I asked if he were interested in producing the album. And so he said, you know, come over to my house and let me hear some of your stuff. So I don't know, I think I was auditioning for him at the time.
Yeah, I wouldn't say auditioning, but
No, but he wanted to hear it. But, and that's how we started. And it was a great experience, and we just did up for it.
And now you're songwriting together. This album, you worked together.
In the last album, we had we did 3 songs on the last album we wrote together.
Okay.
Yeah.
The third album?
Yeah, so Tim and I, like, sometimes I'll just write the song myself, but a lot of times I'll hit a roadblock, or Tim will have a good idea, and we'll work on it together, and
I'm always interested on the songwriting process. Because some people can sit down and they say they can get it just like that, and then sometimes it simmers for 10 years before it comes through. What is your process for writing the song?
It's interesting. I think I have a tough time describing the process because there are some songwriters, the old days in the Brill Building, people would just go in every day and they would write songs every day. But for me, like, it would have to hit me. So once in a while, a song just comes out of the blue into my head, and I capture the music, and if I'm lucky, the lyrics come along pretty quickly too. Other times, I'll just start with a riff, or I'll just have a hook for the song, and then I have to sit back and think about what I want to write about. I've taken a lot of songwriting workshops in the 80s with some famous songwriters, but I would reach back and think about things that they taught me. But when I hit a wall, I go to Tim, and he's amazing.
So give me an example. I'm at a roadblock and I need help.
All right. So okay. So
I have a writer's block. That's what it's called.
I hope this is interesting to the viewers watching.
Of course.
So I wrote the song "Dusty Highway." So all I had was the opening verse, which was "Ride with me down the long, dusty highway. We'll travel together to where I've been, and let's sing a song that's long been forgotten. I'm longing to go back to my home again." And I thought, well, that's everything I needed to say. What else is there to say? I mean, I don't know. I always would like the verses or the later verses and choruses to have meaning, and I don't want to just repeat the same thing over and over again. So I was stuck on that for about 10 months. And I wanted to get back in the studio, and Tim is so talented. So I went to him and showed him the lyric. And I said, "What do you think?" And he said to me,
I
said,
liked it.
"Yeah," but then he said to me, "Well, did you ever take a friend back home where you grew up? Maybe you could take them back there and teach them a little bit about how you became who you are today by showing them, what it's like." I've taken people back to my old neighborhood in Queens with my son and my current wife. I've gone back to the old neighborhood, and maybe that gives them a framework. Some of the songs I wrote by myself, and one of the songs was the song I co-wrote with Dana Fuchs. I put on the album. But most of the songs, I'd say, a little more than half, I would work with Tim, and a lot of times when I'd go to Tim, I'd be lyrically tied up and maybe musically tied up, and I would say to him, "What do you think?" And Tim always would come through, whether it was a lyrical idea or a musical idea.
So how do you come up with that brainchild of a song?
Well, it different each time. Like sometimes, like David was just saying earlier, like he comes and sings a verse, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, this is what this song could be about," and then I take it from there and just write. Sometimes I write more than just another verse. I might write 3 verses and go, "Well, this one's good." And I can finish it with that line,
Okay.
But that song, "Dusty Highway," was pretty much like that, right?
Yeah.
But the chorus was a verse or something, and you took it and made it into the chorus, I think. It's something like, but it happens differently every time. There was another song we wrote. He just had this riff, and he sent it to me. And there was a song that I had written already, and it was kind of the same.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
But I was like, well, his riff is better than mine. Let me see. And he sent it to me, and was on the phone. I start listening to it, and all of a sudden, my lyric just started. It was like, oh, my lyric really works, and his riff is better than mine. So I think David should have the lyric. And I sent them to him, and he changed them a little bit for himself and make it easier to roll off his tongue. And
I listened to some songwriters. I think John Legend was telling the story on how he came up with an idea, or he was writing for a group, and when he finished the song, he's like, you know, I really want to keep this for myself. Do you have a situation like that?
No.
Or when you, or do you give whatever you're collaborating to
Well,
David, like for a particular project?
I have a project, like a pet project that I have with some really good friends of mine. It's called Black Diamond Jack, and that song was really supposed to be for them, for that project. But we're all so scattered that when we get, it takes a while to get together. And I just thought, well, I'll give this lyric to David for his. I don't have an ego about it, you know, or anything. So it helped. It just hit, like I said, his riff was better than mine. So I was like, his riff serves the lyric.
A
more than
symbiotic
mine.
relationship. That's great. Yep.
Well, so the song "Dusty Highway," which is the title track of the album, I came up with the opening verse, and it's "Ride with me down the long dusty highway, travel together to where I've been, and let's sing a song that's long been forgotten. I'm longing to go back to my home again." So that's all I had, and I know from taking these songwriting workshops in the 80s with some really well-known songwriters, there has to be a reason for each verse to be there, as opposed to repeating what you said with different words. And I was stuck. I didn't know what else to say. So I went to Tim, and Tim said, after listening to the opening verse, he said, you know, have you ever wanted to, do you ever bring somebody back to the old neighborhood so you could show them where you came from, and maybe they can understand a little bit about who you are today? And I thought, I don't know of a song that was written about that topic. And so I gave it to Tim, and the next day he called me back, and he had completed the entire lyric. So he took me to a place I probably would not have gotten
And
to on
then
my own.
how do you put all the music together and arrange it for each of the instruments? How do you decide on something like that?
That's the real fun part. I think writing, when I write songs, it's always a little painful. I don't know. It doesn't come easy, but it always feels good when it's done. But so I'll go down to Tim's house, and his wife is there, Ann Klein, who's an amazing guitarist and mandolin player. And
And steel guitar, isn't it? Right?
She plays lap steel as well.
Lap steel.
so we literally listen, you know, I just play on the guitar or the piano, and we sit around and we talk about what direction we want to take the album in. What flavor is the album going to be? Is it going to be folk-oriented, or it's going to be a little more blues-oriented? And we talk about the instrumentation and everything from where we're going to record, typically Tim's studio. Once in a while, like Tim would say, you know, let's go to this other studio. Let's go upstate, and we'll just be up there for a week, and we'll just record, just immerse ourselves in the entire process.
Well, wonderful.
But as far as the instrumentation, it all comes down to you. And
Yeah, it's usually, really like you just sort of go with your instincts. Like he's playing the song, and you all of a sudden you go, oh, well, this should have an electric guitar, or this will just be another acoustic guitar with it, or, you know, I hear organ on this. But that song, Dusty Highway, David actually came in with that verse, and he was going, I hear this like with strings. I want to hear strings. So we got the string arranger and did a quartet for it. But he had that in mind already. And I know a lot of people, a lot of musicians here in town. So I just picked the ones I think are best for the project.
Very good. Well, I went to your opening at Bitter End, was it about a month ago? And I was just really, I don't want to say surprised, I was in awe of the collection of musicians that you had, the talent on the set. You had a violinist that was there who recently won a Grammy, I believe.
she did, like a week or two later, Lorenzo Bonds.
Yeah.
She's the one that did the string arrangements.
Oh,
too,
okay.
Of course, too.
She tours with Bon Jovi. She's played with Neil Young.
Yeah.
She's played with Adele. So.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean.
When I saw her on television, I thought that lady was in David's band.
Yeah. You know, when I see these musicians come in at the sessions, I'm in awe of these musicians, and I feel like I better be good because I don't want to sound bad for them because you know everybody's played with great artists, and I feel
Yes.
like if I'm playing live, I don't want to.
And Anne Klein is your music director, right?
Yes.
And then Beth Sussman was on.
Beth, yeah, she's also.
Yeah, she's a pretty serious cat too.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you know her
Yeah.
background, right?
Yeah, she was Bette Midler's MD for years. I don't know, 12 years or something like that.
And Whitney Houston.
And Whitney
Ooh.
Houston, yeah.
Aretha Franklin.
Wow. Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
She's an amazing player, really.
Yeah,
They're all.
Everybody was.
Everybody on that stage was,
Yeah.
was phenomenal.
Well, it was you had a great turnout. It was just really fantastic. Congratulations.
you. Thank you
And
so much.
I sat at a different table than I normally do, and I met you.
That's my normal table. I
Matt
always
King
do
was
that.
there too, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
He's the founder of White Collar Crime. Right?
Correct,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so it was a great little reunion.
Right.
And then I got to meet all your friends, and I was like, wow, I hit the lottery tonight.
Yeah, I was
was
thrilled
really
to have
fun.
you there.
Thank you. Yeah, it's I enjoy supporting artists, and I give you a lot of credit. I'm glad to have this venue opportunity to profile you, because I think it's really important for people to learn about artistic process, because people like me, you go to financial school and you deal with numbers all the time, and it's like, how do you do it as as an artist full time? But see, you're a numbers person during the day too, right?
That is true. I still
Yeah.
have a day job.
Yeah,
So,
and look what you're doing, as a side hobby, and then now after working with people, in their band, you stepped forward and started the songwriting process and creating your own work. It's really great.
well, thank you. In the 1980s, I decided, well, I was busy, starting my business and going to work, and I was a math and music major in college, so I always had to drive when I was in college, playing college coffee houses and the wine and cheese bars, and I never really put the guitar down. In the early 1980s, I decided, well, maybe I could just be a songwriter and not have to go on tour and do what I need to do and try to write for other people. So I did take songwriting workshops with Lou Stallman, who just recently passed away about a year ago. He wrote Perry Como's Round and Round.
Wow.
Round and Round. And he wrote It's Gonna Take a Miracle and the Yankees theme. Anyway, I took a workshop with him,
Wow.
and he was a publisher too, so he would come in and say, I'm looking for a song for Dionne Warwick, I'm looking for a song for Joe Cocker. And I had met a really talented lyricist. So I was writing sometimes outside of myself. I was not finding my own voice with what I wanted to sing about, but it was a lot of fun. It was great. Also, I was invited into ASCAP, had a workshop with, now if the name's going to escape me.
Rupert Holmes.
Rupert Holmes. Yeah, I was invited in. That was like an honor to be invited in there, and that was a lot of fun. I met Jeffrey Osborne and Phoebe Snow. It was only like 25 of us, and he would bring a panel of industry people. So, and then the 90s, I kind of just played White Collar Crime, but it wasn't until like 2010 that I found my own voice to start writing
Good for
my
you.
own
He had
material.
other people recorded his songs though in the 80s. You had people in Nashville and Europe that were.
Yeah, that's
doing
true.
it.
I did have, I had a song, I think it went to like number 84 on the country charts, called You Touch
Fabulous.
Me Country. And it's so funny, I was pretty much done with that chapter of my life. And then I got a call from somebody from London who wanted a song They wanted me to sign a publishing contract, and I was, a little unsure who this person was on the phone. And they wanted to know where to send the money to get the song off the ground. And it turned out to be some rock group in Europe that actually released it as their single off the album, and it sold in Japan and in England. I had no idea what happened. All I know is
You got royalties.
They sent me a check.
I had Alan Merrill here. He wrote the song I Love Rock and Roll, right?
Right.
And he's unfortunately passed away, from early COVID. And he said he actually made more money on the release of that song, not from Joan Jett, but from Britney Spears, who released it internationally.
Yeah.
Wow.
But we never heard her version of it. We never heard that here in the United States because it was released abroad. I was like, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember my studio partner, he played on that Joan Jett version.
Oh, wow.
He was her original guitar player.
Was that Ricky Byrd?
No, it was for
Ricky.
his Roscoe. It's called Eric Campbell.
Okay.
So Ricky replaced Roscoe.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So and then he went on to be in the Del Lords. It was a New York band, that did well. So.
See, I was this real brainiac. I went to Queens. I went to St. John's University, became an accountant. I was all involved with all that. And fortunately, I lifted up my head and saw that there's another world here.
Listen, I grew up in Queens also. I remember telling my mother I'm going to the midnight show at the Fillmore East. I was like 16, 17. She's like, oh my God, that's such a terrible neighborhood. Second Avenue and 4th Street. There was no cell phone service. I'm like, it's okay, I won't be alone. And so the midnight show, starring 1971, I think it was Elton John.
Oh, my.
And I saw quite a few shows at the Fillmore East, so I don't like.
I've heard about that place. Some people have filled in the gaps for me of what they remember of that place.
Anybody watching is going to know. I'm an old guy. If I told you, I also saw the Doors and Janis Joplin.
Is that incredible?
That was a different
Yeah.
time.
Now it's a bank. That place is a bank. Yeah. So what are your plans this year? You've launched your record release, at the bitter end. Do you have any other shows coming up, or what are your plans for the album?
Well, I am paying, I should say that. I am working with Peter Hay. I'm also paying, but I'm working with Peter Hay from Twin Vision and Abby Sparks. They're both promotion people, and I'm happy to say that between the two of them, especially Peter and his team, he's got me on radio, like public radio and college radio stations.
Good for you.
I did chart like 150 on the AMA charts, so
Good for you.
but I was thrilled to see my name on that chart. And there's a roots music chart that on the alternative music charts, it actually reached number 10.
Good for you.
Anyway, so it's getting some airplay,
Right.
and
Now, if somebody wanted to cover your song, how do they go about doing that? I'm always a little confused on that publishing process. Do they hear the song and then they want to do their version of it, and then they contact you to get permission?
yes, if like Tim and I co-own the publishing on the song,
Oh,
so we
okay,
write
fine.
together. So
Okay.
they have to come to us to get
You
permission.
both have to approve it.
As the publisher.
Okay.
But like when I was mentioning that song in the 80s that went overseas, we gave up the publishing on that.
Oh, okay.
So even if I want to record it, I would have to get their permission.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting.
So
Okay. Very good. And so it's always been interesting to me. I had someone here who was from Detroit, and she met one of the Motown writers. And she actually went down to D.C. to see about writings, and his name was lifted, and then when the copyright had to be replaced, it went back in, and then got removed. It was really incredible. But, most people don't know that process, but she did, and she ended up getting a lot of money for that particular artist. And a lot of people in the law, and entertainment were watching that case because, it was a really important case. Yeah, it was really
It's a
interesting.
common story in the 50s and 60s.
Yes,
Really
yeah.
talented people who just
Yeah.
lost
My
their lives in the
namesake,
sun.
you know, Ginger from Gilligan's Island, they all got paid basically per session or whatever, and they never got royalties off of all of that.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's sad.
Yeah. So you mentioned Dana Fuchs. You've
Yes.
written with her.
Yeah, she had asked me to join her writing group
Wonderful.
on not the most recent album, but the one before, Love Lives On.
Mm-hmm.
And I was honored that she asked me to come to her home. She used to come out, well, when she can, she comes out to my shows, and I always say my biggest fan is my wife, and my number 2 fan is Dana Fuchs. I don't
Oh,
know,
how
but,
fabulous.
But,
She's lovely.
Thought I had everything under control. Life was a party, a Sunday park stroll. Weight on my shoulders grew heavy on my back, and the pleasures I tasted ran me off of my track, and now I'm stuck on Broadway. Reaching for the spotlight from the shadows of night, watching the future disappear from my sight. I can't point a finger, only me to blame. Hiding the demons that I could not tame, and now I'm stuck on Broadway.